Do you think Carlos Sainz will win one race in 2022?
No.
I think even WTF1 had put out this poll some time ago that, will he win? And, the scales are almost balanced, where I think like 50-55% people were saying that he will, and then, rest of them are saying no. What's up? How are you doing today? Not
Yeah,
today, actually, it's tonight, right? I mean, it's pretty late into tonight right now. It's 12 o'clock. It's midnight here. Uh, Almost midnight, 11:50. Nobody's there right now around me, and everyone has slept off. Quite scary.
I got a dream, that it was like I was riding an F1 car and then someone stopped me. They're like, bro, like lift like that. And I just stopped to give lift. And I saw that the legs were like
Reverser.
one leg was like this, one leg was like this. Yeah. So that was a giveaway. Really scary.
But
Yeah.
anyway, speaking of scary stuff, you know what else is scary right now? Uh,
What?
Max Verstappen's form, because right now the way he's driving, he reminds everyone of Sebastian Vettel's form in 2011 or 2013 for that matter, because he's just crushing it. Like, if he has to finish a race, he'll finish in number one or he'll not finish. He's like that right now.
It's interesting that you brought about Max's form. The weird thing is also that they're facing a lot of reliability issues, right? Imagine they iron out those reliability issues and then Max's form remains as is, right? It could be the dominance that we've seen how Mercedes had, right, in all of these years, and Red Bull kind of landing up there.
Yeah, but like, keep the reliability issues aside, because I think this year almost every team is having reliability issues. And in top teams, Ferrari and Red Bull was having. And like, surprisingly, like Checo, we saw in the Canadian GP, we felt that when cars almost became reliable, suddenly we see Checo's car becoming unreliable. Keeping that aside, I think Max has been just crushing it. Like, there is nobody in the grid right now that is, even close to him. I would say Charles, but again, Charles is also being hit by reliability issues a lot. We haven't we haven't really seen Charles on the podium from what, last 4-5 races. He wasn't
Yep.
there in Canada. He wasn't there in Monza. He wasn't there in not Monza, Monaco. He wasn't there in Baku also, right? It's just been pain for Charles. So yeah, Max Verstappen is just crushing it. He's like prime Seb.
I mean, it's interesting you spoke about Ferrari and the reliability issues, right? But someone who has been impacted by those reliability issues of Ferrari are their customer team, which is Haas, right?
Oh,
There was such an hype, right? There was the Steiner ship that we're speaking about. They're like, yeah, come on, Haas. We almost dreamt that Haas could be the third, right, or fourth, even after or before Mercedes. All of a sudden, it's become such a disaster, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
catastrophe.
yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, this weekend they actually had pace. Like, they qualified in top 10, both of those guys. And Mick Schumacher, no words, because reliability issues, and he was running in top 10. He was in points. So no words. But then Mix is definitely not a driver issue. But when it comes to Magnussen, I think there was some driver issue involved, because the move that he was trying to pull on Hamilton in the first lap, I think it was after the fourth corner, he was trying to go overtake Hamilton from the outside, and it was way too ballsy move. And
yeah.
that's when his right front wing got hit, and
Clipped.
he could have continued that way, but FIA gave him that orange and black flag. I don't know, people call it meatball flag. So he was called, and he was like really pissed off about it, and he had to stop. So that kind of ruined his race, right? And it was not even in the safety car period. So that was the sad part.
My only hope is that Haas comes back, right? Because everyone wants an interesting action, and we don't want cars kind of just going back and then suddenly we land up in what we never wanted, which is only one or two teams again in the again ahead, right, and rest
Yeah,
everyone pretty much in the midfield, right? It's interesting that there was one car that we thought who wouldn't kind of screw this whole race up, but finally ended up screwing the race, which was McLaren, right?
yeah,
It was weird. Yeah. I don't know why people are going backwards, right? Other than the front guys who are going forward, right? Pretty much everyone is kind of just taking a step back. McLaren's kind of just taken like 10 steps back suddenly in the Canadian GP.
absolutely. If you zoom out and watch the larger picture of McLaren, and I have no idea what's happening there. I mean, like obviously they must be working pretty hard and things like that, but their progression from mid 2010s, right, from 2015, etc., when Alonso was there, and he used to say that this car is like absolutely crap, and you couldn't drive it. And the way they came back from there and built their car, 2019 and 2020 was a time where they almost like they were like peaking, and Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris just took the team to next level. And then came Danny Rick. Even last year, they had a pretty decent stint, I would say. They gave a pretty good competition to Ferrari in third place. But this year, it's been like just not working for the Papaya boys. The pit stop strategies, the length of pit stop, like absolutely sad to see. Like as a Lando fan, especially, like you're like, what the fuck?
But one ex papaya boy had it lucky in Canadian GP, Carlos Sainz. Charles was in right ahead of him, but this is somewhere that he performed well, right? Do you kind of attribute that to Charles not being there ahead of him? Is it that okay when the pressure is not there, he's still able to perform a little more better, right? Or would the result have changed had he had Charles behind him or ahead of him? Could he have still come?
I think it's the other way, because I believe that in this particular race, Charles wasn't anywhere in the front. So I think the whole responsibility of getting some points for the team was on Carlos's shoulder. But the added advantage or pressure, you could say, was that, he was starting from third and he had a chance at a win. And he knew that, like because Charles is behind, this could be like my greatest chance ever. And he actually almost delivered, like the way he was driving in those last few laps. We almost thought that he's going to just overtake Verstappen, right? But then a lot of people, they were like, like why didn't Ferrari pit him for mediums, and why did they pit him for hards? But the thing is, like, the only tire that was available to him was hard tires, and I believe there were softs also, but softs wouldn't have been the right choice, because with softs, even if he had like overtaken Verstappen within a couple of laps, Max would have like overtaken him because he's on hards. I think like Carlos, wherever he started, he did the job that was really expected of him. He had the chance to like go one step ahead and get the win for the Tifosi boys, but it just didn't happen because of Max Verstappen, nothing else. Because like Max was like calm as a cucumber, and he was just no mistakes at all. Like especially the last corners curve, just before the start line. That was the place where you had to get a nice exit, and if you didn't get a nice exit, then you won't be able to overtake. And Max was nailing it every single time, and Carlos was like missing by like just like inches or something like that, and that led to that like milliseconds difference, and he couldn't. But then at the end of it, I think he delivered. Yeah, like whatever. Carlos Sainz did his job, but I'm pretty sure he was also like hoping that he could get that win.
But we also hoped secretly that Alonso would win, right? He was
Yeah,
in the front row. Even our podcast thumbnail, in fact, was "Will Alonso win?" He kind of just went backwards. I think probably he put a reverse gear or something of that sort, right? And just kind
yeah,
of just went backwards.
yeah. L plan failed. But yeah, they had pace. Before we get into Alpine, I just wanted to ask you one question about Carlos Sainz. Do you think Carlos Sainz will win one race in 2022?
No.
I think even WTF1 had put out this poll some time ago that, will he win? And, the scales are almost balanced, where I think like 50-55% people were saying that he will, and then, rest of them are saying no. Maybe it was his best chance, or maybe you never know, right? The season is long. There are 13 races to go, and any crap can happen. So yeah, I'll say yes because I'm
Yeah.
Ferrari fan. Coming to the Spanish boy,
Yeah.
the older Spanish boy, Alonso. I think like everything that could go wrong for Alonso went wrong. I wouldn't say that, but like quite a bit of things went wrong for him, right? Like he couldn't pit when safety car was out, and both the times he just missed it narrowly, and he stayed on those I think hard tires, right, for 30-35 laps, and then he changed to like another set of hards. His life was really like literally hard.
I think there was a report about probably they had an engine issue. What I read was he was probably losing more than a second a lap or of something of that sorts, right? Plus his weaving, right?
Yeah, that gave him like a penalty of 5 seconds. Also, the thing is, so Alpine told Ocon to stay like just a second or less than that ahead of Alonso, so that the people behind him will not be able to overtake them, because like he gets the DRS right. And when that was happening, Alonso is like, "Let me overtake Ocon." It seems that was epic. And then they asked him to hold places, like rightly so, but you never know. Our man might be pissed. That was about it. And talking about Ocon, actually, he did a great job. Like the way he was defending Leclerc for almost 5-6 laps. Leclerc was like frustrated. At one point, you could like literally hear him like like, I cannot do this, and he was like gasping because his tires are like some 38 laps old, and Ocon's tires are only 20 laps old. So, but still, like he held him on, right? So, yeah, talking about Leclerc, what did you think about his performance?
There's a spark that Leclerc has, right? Given the right car, I think that's what he showed. It's not easy to come back from the back of the grid, right, to front of the grid. That's what he's made up of. That's what we want to see, right? Given a reliable car, given lesser mistakes, because if you know the only difference between the champions, right, and the people behind, right, are the number of mistakes that you make. Beat the team
Unforced
making those,
errors.
yeah, unforced errors. That being the team, beat the team making those mistakes or the driver making those mistakes, right? That's what we saw in pretty much we saw in Mercedes versus Red Bull battle, right?
Yeah.
I think somewhere uh, it's Charles' first season, right? So as to say full season, but he has to kind of stop making those mistakes.
But the thing is, like the way he drove this particular race was very flawless, I would say. Like no mistakes, and he avoided risks initially, tried to make safe overtakes on long straights, etc. But then eventually, when he came to mediums, that's when he started his risky overtakes, etc. But actually, Ferrari did screw up his race little bit this time also, when his pit stop, instead of being whatever 3 seconds or 2 point something, it was 5.3 seconds, and that small error cost him. And he came behind that Ricardo, and he got caught behind the traffic, and it took him like 2 laps to overtake that also. So he was stuck behind Ocon, right? So that way he was like, he kept losing time. He kept losing so much time behind him, and maybe they should have pitted him slightly earlier and gotten him into hards again. I don't know, that's what I felt. Probably, if these mistakes wouldn't have happened, he might have targeted fourth or third place also, because there were Mercedes in front of him. Like, and of course, like Mercedes had pace, but he could have challenged them, right? We could have seen like some more challenge with maybe George or Lewis in front. Yeah, so that's what happened. What do you think about Russell's drive this weekend?
More than Russell's drive, I feel Hamilton was something of a good race for him because unfortunately he's been having the worst of the races, right? I mean,
Worst races as per his standards.
yeah, as per his standard, and Mercedes apparently making him the lab rat, right? And I just read the technical director or someone of the Mercedes, right, saying that it's unfortunate that the parts that he got right for the experiment have not landed properly for him. So, but yeah, it was
Can
it
you
was
elaborate on that?
so what they are obviously doing is that they're testing out new parts, right, on different cars, right. But it's unfortunate that for Hamilton, the parts that they have tested have unfortunately not worked, and thus obviously contributing to his gap with George, right? May not be like totally that factor, but obviously that is a significant factor, right? I think even Hamilton joked that Russell needs to start taking experimental parts, right? So yeah, I mean that was a good race for him. No second thoughts on that. After
Yeah,
so much time that he was back where he kind of belonged, lot of controversy in terms of porpoising, the whole thing of him, George beating him consistently, right? The Mr. Sunday beating him consistently, right?
that
But
doesn't sound
probably
right, but okay.
him being back to pretty much where he was supposed to be, I think that was a highlight for Mercedes because, see, at the end of the day, you need both of your drivers to perform, right? When you want to
Yeah,
win championship, you guys want to go ahead, you need the whole team firing, right? Not only Russell or just Hamilton, right?
yeah.
And I think that was one of the key moments.
I think from the way it started off for Hamilton, right, the weekend, it was like the free practices were like horrible. And Hamilton even said, right, the car is like just undrivable. And from starting from there and finishing on podium, like you could see that, our man is like more than happy, like the happiest you've seen him throughout this season
He's happy. I think he's happy on and off. Off, I'm not sure. Although there are obviously things coming out that he's producing the movie and stuff, right?
with
Off
Brad
the
Pitt.
track, there's just been so many, yeah, so many incidents, right? Recently, that have been unfortunate for the whole Formula One world and also for Lewis. What is your take on that?
My take is that if you talk about like the first case that happened, Yuri Vips. Now, Yuri Vips used the N word while playing a game in the heat of the moment. He was punished. He was suspended by Red Bull and things like that. And eventually, I think the team has cut off all the ties with Yuri Vips. So, if you ask my personal opinion, I feel that he was wrong on doing whatever he did. Okay. But just like looking from the driver's perspective, like, he has, like, his whole life, he has done this job of driving, right? So, um, I kind of, felt a little bit that, it's a little bit harsh. I understand that what he has done is like obviously like not right and shameful. But then, as a kid, I believe he's like 20 something. I don't know even if he's 20, right? He's one of the youngest. So I feel for him actually a little bit. But of course, like, he needs to apologize for his action and things like that, which he did. But coming to the second incident, right? Nelson PK incident. Now, first, I would like to hear your take on the thing, and then we can move to the next one.
Yeah, I think what you said about Yuri Vips, right? Saying probably he's a kid and there needs to be second chances given, right? And probably third chances is definitely not allowed, right? Someone as senior as Nelson PK, right? I think that's totally unacceptable, right? I mean, obviously there is a point of view saying that it's lost in translation, but I don't think that's a very weak argument, right?
Yeah,
What they're putting forth, it is what it is, right? And it's so unfortunate that this happens. Obviously, we being in India, we don't know much about what racism. I mean, we have never faced it. Have you, like in
I,
anywhere?
I I have faced it in Europe a little bit.
Is it
Um, yeah,
what
we
happened?
did. It was just a 10-day Euro trip, but you can feel that sometimes, like one side is a very welcoming and very, generous kind of people who are like broad-minded, and there are other kind of people always, right? Who don't treat you well, or like simple things, like if you go to ask them directions and all, like they turn and walk off and things like that. So I faced it like once or twice only, but it's there. It is quite out there. Speaking at such a large stage, especially like a role model who has won 3 times world champion, it didn't sound right. I mean, like, I know that you are like an aggressive person by nature, and like the driving mentality and the trashness in you. But come on, man, you're whatever, like 60 something old, and you can't say you can't say things like that at all. Like it's like basic, like we're not in like 90s anymore, where there is like no awareness of these things, that you say things by mistake, there's a slip up and things like that. This is like uh basic understanding, and it's just sad. And actually, I really love how Hamilton handled the situation. Like a gentleman, like a like he said directly. Like there are these archaic mindsets out there. They still need to change, and that was like epic.
Obviously, there's a lot of backdrop, right, coming into this week. There is this racism
Yeah.
incident, and there is the last year's incident, right,
Oh
which we
yes.
did, which we made a reel about also. And there's also the jewelry ban, that is
Oh
the
yes.
grace period that's getting over on Thursday, right? So Hamilton he stuck his foot and said, "Come what may, I'm not removing that stuff," right? FI is also sticking their foot down and saying it still remains, right?
I think Hamilton is like Thanos. He's collecting Infinity Stones.
Yeah, but will FIA have more Infinity Stones to destroy him, right? In terms of barring him from participating in the race due to this ban? They do
But
that, will the crowd snap back at them, right? So obviously, because it's his home race, uh, right? And there's obviously just a lot more on his mind.
uh, but
So
but does he actually wear jewelry while racing? Like
yeah,
inside his
yeah.
gloves, does he have rings, etc.?
I'm not sure about inside his gloves, right? But he has this nose pin, as far as
Oh
I've
yeah.
seen, and
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
you've seen that, right? Nose
Yeah.
pin
Yeah.
and
Of
his
course.
ear studs. Yeah,
Yeah. I don't know what to say because personally I don't know what happens if you what are the repercussions of wearing jewelry and things like that, right? So I don't know what to say for that, but I think it should be like a personal choice, right? As long as it's not affecting the safety of the person, it should be all right.
talking about safety of persons, we are more bothered about in this GP safety of those tires, right, on
Oh
those tracks.
yes, yes, yes. Now coming to talking of the local boy, we are going to his local home Grand Prix, Silverstone, one of the most epic Grand Prix of the season, right? Where the pace is almost medium to fast, right? There are almost
Yeah,
like hardly any slow corners, right? There are do
yeah.
are there any slow
Medium and high
corners?
speed corners. Medium and high speed corners.
Yeah, one of the historic races that we have in the calendar. And I think like last week when the commentary was going on, I think Ted Crofty, Ted Crofty, his
Ted
name is right.
Kravitz.
Ted Kravitz and what David Crofty. So Crofty was saying that that the hardest tires used in Canada are going to be the soft tires for Silverstone. That is, in Canada they used I think C3, C4, C5 as hard, medium, and soft tires. And for this race, they're going to use like C1, C2, C3, which are like the hardest compound of tires, and then medium, and then uh, soft. And tire strategy is like a big thing in Silverstone. That's what we were discussing. So, what do you think is like the ideal tire strategy here?
I think it's going to be a two stopper, right? No one wants to really take risks. Everyone has that image in mind where Hamilton is literally like that, like an auto rickshaw, right? Or
Like
the tuk
Lightning
tuk.
McQueen.
Yeah, he's just kind of just coming in those three tires and just finishing the race. No one obviously wants to take a risk, right? And tire, I think tire itself, we can talk a lot. Tire strategy, tire management itself is huge, right? It can make
Yeah.
or break races. But yeah, I think especially in
And
this very tire sensitive track, right? It becomes all the more important that you get the right strategy, and probably it's going to be a two stopper with medium and hards. They'll try to finish off all the softs during their P1, P2, P3s, right?
yeah.
And
And
yeah,
also I think the tire strategy, like when we spoke about Hamilton's tire failure, right? It was not just Hamilton. It it happened to Bottas first, and that's when like Verstappen overtook Bottas, and it also happened to Carlos Sainz.
yeah, yeah, science, yes.
Yeah, and back in the day he was in McLaren. I think Pirelli has this thing that like it's not something they have created, but it's like a jinx for them where like one race a year is where all the tires are going to get burst and things like that. So I think that was the race for 2020. And in 2021, we had Baku, where I think Lance Stroll's tires flew off and Max's tires flew off in that last moment, right? So let's hope it's not that thing. And what do you hope for this weekend?
I have hopes that Leclerc will win. I definitely maybe want, with all of this distraction and a lot of this stuff going on, I definitely want Hamilton to win, right? At least to prove some things, right? At least for
Yeah.
him to get a sense that, okay, after a lot of stuff he's had to face off track, at least he can show something on. But I doubt. But apparently, Mercedes, Williams, etc., are getting major upgrades, right? So it's going to be very important to see what's going to happen. Obviously, we're not going to see Albon winning the race, right? Even though
But
him
I've
getting a
heard
very good
that
upgrade.
I've heard that Williams upgrade is only happening for Albon's car. Is that true?
Yes, but I
Oh,
think that's obviously one good strategy. Also, I mean, that's what they're saying. It's better you test certain parts on one person's car, right? And probably the other person could still run the same spec. So then you have a clear idea, right? It gives you a clear idea of the difference, right? That being said, I want Leclerc. I think my bet is on Leclerc to win this this race, and my bets are that Silverstone could be the turning point for Ferrari. I think this is the point which they kind of turn around, right? And
it
at
needs to
least,
be.
yeah, at least with Red Bull being so far ahead, it's not that they're going to start dominating, but they will start again pushing back, right? In terms of that challenge that's been thrown to Max. I think this is the point. But what are
Yeah.
your bets on?
What I'm hoping for is a repeat of the Leclerc versus Verstappen battle that we saw in 2019, right? It was almost like it was like probably one of the finest duels in F1 history, right? It comes in top 10. Like the way they were driving, that was like amazing. And the commentary is like wow. Like uh I think like that clip of F1 that's there, right? It has like millions of views. I have watched, like personally watched that clip so many times because it is so amazing, like how they're like playing that cat and mouse game, and it's just like simply amazing. And like now that back then they were like fighting for I think P3, P4 and stuff like that, and now they're like almost there at P1, P2, right? So it'll be like really fun to see these guys, duel. And also like touch wood, but so far, you know the rivalry is going on, and there has been no time when Leclerc and Verstappen have crashed. So hoping not, but you never know, it could happen. I've heard of times when it has happened for P1 and P2 guys in Silverstone. I don't know which year.
I think you might have to see a specific reel to find out.
So that's what I'm like hoping for. And win wise, I think the form that Max Verstappen is right now in, I am going to say that he's going to extend his win to one more race. Although in my heart, I'm hoping that Leclerc will break his winning streak, but it's a fast and medium kind of uh, track, right? So I think advantage Red Bull. So that's my prediction. So what do you think will be the P1, P2, P3?
Charles, Perez, and Carlos, right? And probably Max would be DNF with some
Uh,
reliability
uh,
issue.
my prediction would be Max, Leclerc, and Carlos. Let's see.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. It's interesting. Exciting to see what's going to happen. But one definitely exciting thing, we were actually speaking, remember, is that F1 is still pushing ahead, right, with the target of 2030 carbon neutral stance, right?
Yeah.
Driving the whole sustainability stuff forward, which is they go at least by 2026 they want to start racing with 100% energy efficient fuel, right? That's been
Yeah.
created by them.
Yes, yes. And I think this weekend, Seb is going to be driving Nigel Mansell's 1992 Williams with the carbon neutral, the 0% emission fuel. Uh, and it's going to be just for like an exhibition kind of thing. But it's nice to see Seb back in blue. Haven't seen him like that since his Red Bull days, and Seb is like fan favorite, right? So
It's been an interesting development that I just read and I just kind of just remembered is that Formula E 2023 uh, Hyderabad, India has been confirmed, right?
oh
And
yes,
on February 11th, I think.
absolutely. I think watching like a Formula car, like it's a Formula E, but still, like that's the beginning of something big. You never know. Like one day we'll have like street circuit of Formula
Yeah.
One, and they'll go around Charminar and crash into Charminar and all that. Latifi and all will crash, bro. Uh,
And
but
then I just hope Kimi Raikkonen was there. He would have just, instead of getting out and going to the yacht, he would have gone out and like would have got out and gone to some Irani chai cafe or something. Or like
yeah, there is a very famous cafe right there. I think it's called Nimra
Nimra.
Cafe, which is like very famous for its Irani chai. But I'm not sure, is the circuit going to be around Charminar?
No, no. I think it's going to be around Necklace Road. Uh,
Oh,
I think
wow.
somewhere around that. Yeah.
Damn, that's going to be epic. Like in center, the whole Hussein Sagar and
Yeah.
Buddha statue, etc. Also, I think there is a new development uh, in F1. F1 teams given more scope to fix engine reliability issues. So apparently, you can do more engine changes in park firme park firme. How do you pronounce it?
Yeah. Park for me.
Yeah, and like it'll, because like drivers are facing a lot of reliability issues right now. So FI has given leeway that you can make changes to certain parts of your PU and engine, etc. The exact details we'll figure out and maybe tell you next time. So that was a Canadian GP review and Silverstone preview and everything that happened in between. Um, any closing thoughts?
When I was in 10th standard, right, I always hated formulas, but I never knew one day that I would be sitting here and talking about Formula One, Two, Three, and E. This is the
Oh
closest that
God,
I've come to liking formulas. I just hope this continues.
just kill me, please. Oh my God, that was a terrible end. Uh, that was a terrible end to this exciting conversation that we had right now. And stay tuned, guys. Many more to come and many more reels to come from us. So, Formula One enthus, Formula One fans, please hit subscribe button and have a fun weekend. And at Silverstone, what can be better than a race weekend, dude? Like I look forward these days to race weekend. Like it's Monday, like oh fuck, end of the week there's gonna be a race. Like wow, what is better than watching race in TV?
What?
Watching race live. That's it.
Where are we going?
No idea, but we'll go soon.